face of professional wrestling in the 1980s, who parlayed his prowess in the ring into an acting career, has died at the age of 71, according to reports by U.S. media today. Hogan, a Hall of Fame talent known for his towering 6'7" physique, bandana, and distinctive blonde handlebar mustache, died at his home in Florida, according to his manager, Chris Volo. TMZ also reported the news, citing unnamed sources and an emergency personnel dispatch call about a cardiac arrest at his home. Hogan's magnetic personality, his ring character, was a heroic All-American, and the wrestling skills transformed the sport into mainstream family entertainment, attracting millions of viewers and turning the league into a revenue juggernaut. Hogan, real name Terry Bollea, first competed in 1979 in the World Wrestling Federation WWF, now known as WWE, but became a mainstay and fan favorite in the mid-1980s alongside others like Andre the Giant and Rowdy Roddy Piper. His brand of Hulkamania transferred to the small and big screen with roles in films such as Rocky III, No Holds Barred, and TV's Baywatch. He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005. Back home in Nigeria, operatives of the CP Special Assignment Team of the Delta State Police Command have busted a notorious kidnap syndicate under the leadership of one Owe Abebo, alias Adusa, who was said to have been on the command's watch list since 2021. The team also recovered 247 rounds of submachine gun rifle live ammunition from the hoodlums. VOP News gathered that sequel to a series of intelligence reports received on the planned abduction of several high-profile individuals in Sapele, Ogara, and their environs by the notorious gang that has been on the prowl. Operatives of the CP SAT, led by ASP Julius Robinson, swung into a strategic operation in compliance with the directives of the State Commissioner of Police Abaniwanda Olufemi on intelligence-led report and proactive policing. In a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer of the state, Bright Edafe, he noted that on the early hours of July 19, the operatives arrested one Peter Benson of Kwale, Ndokwa local government area of Delta State, and the suspected spiritual herbalist responsible for ritual preparations for the criminal gang. The PPRO stated that following intensive interrogation, Peter Benson led operatives to another suspect of Ajakorama community, Ovia Southwest local government area in Edo State, identified as a syndicate primary spiritualist who was found in possession of 3 live tortoises and other fetish items believed to be used in criminal fortification rituals. In a recent development, troops of the Nigerian military have foiled an attempted infiltration into Monguno town and Bita community at the Lake Chad region by Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists after scores of them, including a top commander, were neutralized in the midnight operations. The senior Quaid commander, identified as Ibn Khalid, was killed along with the terrorist cameraman in the fierce gun battle that ensued in the Bita community when troops of the Nigerian army engaged the terrorists while repelling the attack around 2:30 a.m. According to the theater commander, Northeast Joint Task Force Operation Hadin Kai, Major General Abdul Salam Abubakar, 17 other terrorists were killed in different locations within Sambisa, cutting across Madagali local government area in Adamawa and Kaga in Borno State. An unspecified number of the terrorists escaped with varying degrees of injuries. Major General Abdul Salam said the troops, while pursuing the terrorists as they retreated, observed traces of blood along the withdrawal route. Items such as 2 AK-47 magazines, 7.26 millimeter special ammunition, 1 PKT belt, rocket-propelled grenade bomb, and a camcorder were recovered from the terrorists. Monguno town is the headquarters of northern Borno at the fringes of the Lake Chad region. It serves as the headquarters of Sector 3 operations Hadin Kai and the multinational joint task force. Still on the world news at 6, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has ordered the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, and the Lagos State Commissioner of Police to pay 10 million naira in damages to some #EndSARS protesters for the violation of their fundamental rights. Justice Musa Kakaki, in his decision, held that the applicant and protesters were unjustly harassed and their constitutional rights were infringed upon while participating in the 4th Memorial Rally held on October 20, 2024. Justice Kakaki also held that while law enforcement agencies hold constitutional powers to maintain order, such authority must be exercised within the confines of democracy and the rule of law. The applicants before the court included Hassan Taiwo Soweto, Uyadiale Kingsley, Elesomi Kende, Osopale Adeseye, Olamile Konsanusi, and Miss Osuba Blessing, amongst others. They were joined by groups such as the Education Rights Campaign ERC, the Take It Back Movement TIBM, and the Campaign for the Defense of Human Rights CTHR. In a recent development, the National Executive Council of the All Progressives Congress APC has named the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Nentawe Yuwatda, as substantive chairman of the party. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who heads the Progressive Governors Forum, announced the motion at the ongoing 14th meeting of the committee holding at the State House Conference Center in Abuja. The motion was seconded by the Speaker of the House of Reps, Tajuddin Abbas. The minister was immediately sworn in thereafter. Nentawe Yuwatda took the oath of office at about 2:50 p.m. in the presence of party bigwigs during the 14th NEC meeting holding at the State House Conference Center today in Abuja. Nentawe, who hails from Plateau State North Central Zone, was the APC's governorship candidate in the 2023 elections. Former Senate President and Chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Board of Trustees, Adolphus Wabara, has warned that the stakes are high and that a poor outcome of its upcoming national convention would have serious consequences for the party. Wabara made this known at the PDP's 101st National Executive Committee meeting held today in Abuja. Wabara, who was represented at the event by former Kaduna State Governor Senator Ahmed Makafi, stated that the party's ability to resolve its internal differences and elect credible leaders would be crucial to reclaiming its position as Nigeria's leading opposition force. He stated that although many doubted that NEC would hold, it is now a constitutionally recognized event whose outcome will shape the political terrain ahead of the 2027 general elections. Wabara expressed optimism that successful convention would not only bring back those who had left the party, but also attract new members, including individuals who had never been involved in partisan politics. Meanwhile, former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has declared that he will return to Edo State despite threats by the state governor Monday, Okpebolo. Obi spoke while responding to questions from journalists in Oka over Okpebolo's warning that his safety will not be guaranteed if he comes to the state. The former Anambra governor, who was at his alma mater, Christ the King College, CKC Onitsha, to make a donation, said he was not afraid of threats. He revealed that he receives threats every day. He stressed that if he had need to be in Edo State to make a donation, he would not hesitate to go there. He noted that threats did not make any meaning to him as he receives such every day. Obi was in CKC Onitsha where he presented a 50 million naira donation to the school. The donation was contributed by Obi and other old boys of the institution. Explaining further, Obi said he spoke with some old boys and that they came to the conclusion that there is a need for staff quarters and better administrative building, and they obliged. You're still listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break and return with more news and the news analysis segment, so stay tuned. Welcome to the World News. Thank you for staying with us right here on the World News at 6. I have joining me via the telephone the legal practitioner, Barrister Fred Nzako. Barrister, many thanks for joining us and good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Thank you so much. All right, before we head into the news analysis segment, the Independent National Electoral Commission has officially accepted the candidate list submitted by Julius Abure-led faction of the Labour Party for the upcoming Amak Area Council election. Meanwhile, the Nenadi Usman's faction list is yet to be acknowledged by INEC. Barrister Fred Nzako, one would actually ask the question, what does this mean for the internal power struggles within the Labour Party? Is this a win for Abure? Is it the beginning of a deeper legal and political battle between the Nenadi Usman Caretaker Committee, which recently had their own National Executive Council meeting? Does this mean that INEC is actually supporting Julius Abure? Does this authenticate the court judgment on the case between the Abure faction and Nenadi Usman faction?
Well, it's a very straightforward expression of the position of INEC. It simply shows that INEC stands with the Abure faction. It simply shows that INEC recognizes the faction led by Julius Abure as the authentic ESCO of Labour Party. And it simply shows that in INEC's own interpretation of that ambiguous Supreme Court judgment indicates that INEC has interpreted it in a manner that Julius Abure has been recognized as the chairman. And it is rather very disturbing in our polity that judgment of Supreme Court, which is the apex court, can be given diverse interpretations. What it simply means is that that judgment was not pointed, was more or less ambiguous, and has delivered confusion instead of judgment. Because what is simply also means is that several people are now interpreting that judgment to suit their own position and to suit their own expectation, which of course is not what a court judgment should be. A court judgment ordinarily and naturally should be pointed, direct, unambiguous, straightforward, and very, very lucid. But what we are now seeing is that people are now interpreting it differently. Nenadi Usman and her team, which is the side where you get people like Governor Oti, believe that the judgment is in their favor. Now, INEC is now showing otherwise, that the judgment is in the favor of Julius Abure. Abure and his team also believe that judgment is in their favor. And then how come that a judgment that was written in English language, that should be in plain English language, yes, even with some
Barrister Zako, as much as it was written in English language,
must not be misinterpreted.
Barrister, as much as it was written in English language, you'll agree with me that it was also written in legal speak, right? I want to bring this to power. I want to also use this as a case for the case between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Nigerian Senate. They are also interpreting it in different ways. Wouldn't you say that the judiciary is the cause for confusion here in not actually putting it in layman's terms before we now come to INEC choosing sides on how to interpret that?
Again, I agree with you that the judgment of Justice Binta Morukanyako with respect to Senator Natasha and Senator Abure and the Senate generally, again, has left more confusion than judgment. And that is why everybody is now holding on to his or her own model of interpretation of what the court has said. And for those who continuously accuse the judiciary of causing confusion in our polity, they may not be very far in this with respect to these two judgments that have brought political confusion in the polity.
It's not just these two judgments. There are others we can point to before now.
I dare say, with all due respect to the learned justices and judges of the bench, that if they continue like this, it will not serve our judicial jurisprudence well. It will also not serve our political jurisprudence well. Neither will it help the development of our polity. Because, like I said earlier, part of the characteristics of a court judgment is that it must be unambiguous. It must be clear. It must be non-pendulous. It must be direct. And even if you lace it with some legal jargons, it must not be difficult for anybody to understand. But when the judgment is neither here nor there, it now leaves room for myriad of interpretation that may be subjective in some cases and in some other cases outrightly funny. And the judgment of court is not supposed to be subjected to such funny interpretation as we are seeing in the political turf.
All right. So should we now have a situation where we have people maybe interpreting the judgment of the court in the indigenous language that the people there will understand, or maybe in pidgin English, so that it's not unambiguous?
The language is not the problem, but the choice of decision.
So INEC is being biased in now they are choosing to interpret. Is that what you're saying?
It will not be fair to say that INEC is biased, because they are interpreting it in their own way. The people on the side of Abure will say that INEC is correct. The people on the side of Nenadi Usman will say that INEC is biased. But it's not supposed to be so. When you pick that piece of legislation, that piece of judgment, you see where the confusion lies. The court says that issues about the internal affairs of the political party should not be touched by a court, and left it like that, without going further to decide one way or the other who should occupy what. So that is where the confusion lies. Now, Abure side conducted a convention in Nenadi that was described as a charade. They claimed that INEC officials were there. The other side was claiming that INEC officials were not there. Now, nobody knows what the truth is, because Nigeria has become a place where truth is very, very scarce, especially when issues about politics and governance are concerned. Meanwhile, these are the institutions that affect the lives of the people on a daily basis. So why would such institutions be the ones that are enmeshed in all manner of lies, falsehoods, and misinterpretations? These are the challenges we have. So Nigeria needs healing from all angles, including from the average tower of the judiciary.
Recently, we saw Peter Obi's running mate in the 2023 elections, Dati Baba Ahmed, sitting in a meeting with the Julius Abure faction of the party. He was cautioned by the Nenadi Usman caretaker committee, that faction of the party. And he said he was trying to broker peace between these two factions so that they can come together under one umbrella and present a united front ahead of the 2027 elections. Would you say that he saw this coming, or they saw this coming, and that is the reason why he's trying to reconcile the party? Do you see the two factions being reconciled, especially if one faction doesn't want Julius Abure to remain the chairman anymore?
Remember that saying by President Goodluck Jonathan, that it is more difficult to wake a man who is pretending to be asleep than to wake a man who is naturally asleep. If the leaders of Labour Party want peace, it is very easy for them to find peace. But if they are being induced or compromised not to find peace, no matter the efforts you made, efforts made by anybody, there can never be peace until after the 2027 election, which will spell doom and unfortunate situation for those who hope that Labour Party should be a party to reckon with as we approach the election period. But if they really want peace, of course it is not difficult to find peace. Even that Supreme Court judgment will not receive this myriad of interpretations. The interpretations are coming because people are sticking to their guns. They want things to go their own way, and that is why they are now giving it different interpretations. The court says, go back and amend your house. If you want to elect your leadership, do that by yourself, following your laid down constitutional procedure. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. But when people don't want to follow that constitutional procedure, they will clutch onto their gun, and they wouldn't want to shift, and there will never be peace in the party, because something, the little bird, once that the bird that is dancing on the street has a drummer beating a very big drum by the roadside. That is exactly what is going on.
So who's the dancing bird in this case? Is it the Nenadi Usman caretaker committee? Is it the Julius Abure faction? Some Nigerians are of the opinion that the faction supported by Peter Obi and Governor Alex Otti of Abia State, which is the Nenadi Usman caretaker committee, should also take INEC to court for recognizing the list supplied by Julius Abure faction. If this happens, wouldn't it be an endless cycle of court cases upon court cases, and the Labour Party will continue to be divided along factional lines?
Those who want such division will want the court case never to end. The money to go to court is not their problem. They want the matter never to end. They will always file suits. they will always get people that will go and file suit for them, and they will always appear before judges and listen to judgment. But at the end of the day, they know what they are looking for. They want the crisis to continue for the benefit of some other people who don't want that crisis to end. It's as simple as that. And that is what we call political corruption. When political leaders are not leading to the best interest of the membership of the party, not to talk of the best interest of the country, where we profess to practice democracy, and then we are hijacking democracy and we are practicing monetocracy, that will not help Nigeria at all, because that is corruption of the politics. It can happen anywhere in the world, and anywhere it happens, there is never peace. And that is why the politicians who are supposed to be elites and leaders should make conscious effort, determined, directed effort towards finding peace and following the laid down procedure in their party constitution, of which if there is any part of the constitution that does not go down well with them, they have options to amend such constitution. No constitution is cast on stone. You amend it so that you move forward. But unfortunately, and that is why our politics is making progress. Rather, it is retrogressing and retarding. Even dictatorship, a benevolent dictatorship is better than the type of politics that we have in Nigeria. And that is why even some countries that do not practice the kind of democracy, pseudo-quasi-kwashiorkor democracy that we practice, are doing better, even as unitary systems and the dictatorships. Because here in Nigeria, what we see is that politics of me, myself, and I, self-interest, self-aggrandizement, myself and my family, my cronies and my friends, that should not be the basic essence of politics. Is a process whereby credible leaders are elected. Credible leaders are elected towards delivering good corporate governance to the people. Anything short of that is a voodoo politics. So what we practice in Nigeria is voodoo politics, which does not in any way bring progress. And that's why the country continues to decay and nothing gets better.
Talking about what you just said, voodoo politics. I want to point to an issue that happened almost a week ago and the response of the person involved. Now, certain quarters feel that, this issue has been overflogged, but every other day there is a new development with one person or the other talking on this issue. I'm speaking about Governor Monday Okpebholo of Edo State, saying Peter Obi should not come to Edo State without security clearance from him. Peter Obi has responded to that earlier today when he went to make a donation at CKC, as Christ the King College in Onitsha. And he says if he has to go to Benin to make donations, that he will, and nobody can stop him, as threats don't make any meaning to him, and he receives threats every day. I'd like you to speak on this for 1 minute. Let's move on to another political issue so that we can talk about humanitarian matters.
Yes, Governor by now would have realized that he made a very terrible blunder. Forget the fact that former Governor Wike is trying to give him morale.
But he's doubling down on it. And some people feel Peter Obi is a public figure. He should inform the governor, maybe security arrangements will be made for him.
Peter Obi is not going there to campaign. He's going there on private visit. If everybody who wants to enter Edo State will have to inform the governor, how many people will governor provide for? Whereas people who fly all around the places are having their hearts in their hands because of this security situation in the land. Governor Monday Okpebholo really knows that what he said was against the Constitution. What he said was anti the Constitution. The Constitution provides for freedom of movement, freedom of interaction, and freedom of existence in every part of the country for all Nigerians. Not to talk of such a person who has had no case of hurting a fly. So I think it was a reckless political statement, which by now, those who really mean well for the state would have told him, no, Governor, please don't drag us so low. But forget about the bragado that and the strength that Wike is giving him. Even Wike himself knew that what Wike was talking was only trying to be politically correct. But he knows that what the governor did was wrong and unconstitutional.
All right, Barrister Fred Nzako, I want to quickly talk about the newest appointment by the National Executive Committee of the ruling APC. They've named the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Nentawe Uwatda, as substantive chairman of the party. What's your assessment of this new chairmanship after Ganduje excused himself from the position, reportedly or allegedly, according to reports from some sources who are privy to the matter, because of maybe Kwankwaso wanted to join the party, and the whole Kashim Shettima may not be President Tinubu's running mate in 2027. Nentawe Uwatda is a man who came to head the ministry that's mostly been headed by women since it was created, and also he's someone who many Nigerians, even politically inclined Nigerians, did not really know until he became the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Yes, Professor Uwatda, having been made the chairman of the party, I guess it's too early to assess him. Rather, the party members and those who study the goings on in APC can only set some timelines for him by way of issues that he should tackle to ensure that there is unity and there's lack of implosion in the party, because many people are saying that this open door concept of the party, where every Tom, Dick, and Harry is being allowed to come in. Yes, everybody is allowed to come in, but when people are even pressured in some cases to come in so that their dirty clothes will be made clean once again, will obviously at the end of the day boomerang, because there are so many strange bedfellows in APC, people who don't really share the ideas, if at all there's any idea the party holds there. But people who don't even share the minutest of ideas are just running in there just to have some form of shelter, or have some form of closure on their ugly past. So that those who have held offices in the past and run away from the searchlight of EFCC and other anti-corruption.
So you are basically saying anyone who wants to run away from being held for whatever it is that they have done to Nigeria's misappropriation and all of that runs to the ruling party? The ruling party is a safe haven for people with corruption allegations?
The image of APC today is one big house that anybody who is being pursued by the masquerade outside will run into, and then they will close the door, irrespective of whether the person has stolen the money given to the masquerade. Of the APC, he finds security, and the masquerade will be cordoned off. That is the impression and the image Nigerians have of APC, because there is, apart from bringing untold hardship to the people, there is no other image of Nigerians that Nigerians have of APC, because there is no basis why, even those in the National Assembly are moving in droves to the APC, bypassing the provisions of the law. APC is killing Nigerian democracy. They know it, but they say they don't care, because the loss of their opposition is their own gain. But democracy is not practiced like that in other parts of the world.
Okay. Barrister Fred Nzako, I want us to quickly come to another matter, and this one just actually happened today. The Federal High Court in Lagos has ordered the IGP and the Lagos State Police Commissioner to pay 10 million naira in damages to some EndSARS protesters for violating their fundamental rights. Now, this actually occurred during the 4th memorial rally of EndSARS protest held on October 20, 2024. This was 4 years after EndSARS. Now, you will remember that EndSARS was to protest police brutality against Nigerian youths. Now, at the memorial of that same EndSARS, the court has just indicted the police of being brutal towards the youths. What they were protesting against 4 years ago, they still suffered it 4 years after. And now the police has been mandated to pay 10 million naira to these youths. Yes, one could say it is a win for the people involved. But are they going to see this money?
Well, I cannot beat my chest and say that they will receive the money, because there are many judgments against the police, of which the judgment creditors have not received a dime. There are even many judgments against federal government, of which the judgment creditors have not received a dime. Under Abure Malami, there was a time a whopping 80 billion naira was set aside to clear all the judgment debts against the federal government, which of course includes the ones against the police, army and other security agencies that were fond of handling the people. But I can tell you that I cannot, in all honesty, say that those money was released and utilized appropriately and accordingly. This is the same police establishment that a few days ago some retired policemen went on strike. The other some weeks ago, a retired policeman was lamenting, and it went viral that after 35 years he was paid a mere 2 million naira, and he said he was not going to touch it. So it simply tells you that there are a lot of problems within the police system, that the money that is allocated to them are never enough. Not because the money is too small, but because the appropriation of the funds do not go down well in a manner that it will achieve the desired result. And that is the challenge of Nigeria's system. It's not only the police, the military, they are crying, they don't have adequate facilities to attack the terrorists, and even those on the line of duty are not even given their remunerations. Yet, a large chunk of money every year is budgeted for all these purposes. You now begin to ask, can't Nigerian leaders ever be satisfied with wealth amassment? Is there any need for this kind of primitive acquisition where those in authority will amass wealth at the expense and detriment of those that the wealth are supposed to take care of? So I do not even think that those people will get the money, but let them prove me wrong and get them have the money, because it is a very terrible development and a small point on our degree of seriousness as a country that a high court judge will give an order and the order will not obey it. The next thing now, you see the police will want to go and appeal the judgment, and in the process frustrate the people who are already frustrated, and some of them have already lost their loved ones. And it behoves on a good government, a listening and sensitive government, not to allow such continuous infraction to keep taking place every now and then. Government is not about punishing the people. Government is about making life better. Otherwise, there will be no need for government. When they say the essence of government is for security and welfare of life and properties of the people, that is the definition of government all over the world. Ours should not be an exception. Even in the primitive era, in the medieval ages, those who had authority to lead were leading for the benefit of the people. In the prehistoric era, the same thing. Then trace the history of humanity. Anybody who had authority to lead will see that as holding such leadership in trust for the benefit of the people. So I want to urge that those who court have given this judgment credit should harness such, and government must pay them that money, because it is a mere tip of the iceberg compared to the humongous amount of money that people in authority are stealing mindlessly almost on a daily basis in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Barrister Fred and Zako, for joining me on the World News at 6 this evening. I do appreciate your presence, your input, and your perspective on the issues we've discussed this evening. Do have an amazing evening, and thank you for joining us.
Many thanks.
Have an amazing day. You have been listening to World News at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We will now take the news from our sister station in the capital city, Voice of the People 96.1 FM, Abuja.
Good evening, these are the major stories. I am Falashayo Adigun. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Ezenwoye Somwike, has applauded the developmental efforts of Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo, noting that the governor has remained focused in delivering the dividends of democracy despite distractions. Wike gave the commendation on Wednesday, July 22nd, 2025, in Benin City during the launch of modern mass transit buses by the Edo State government. He praised the people of Edo State for their steadfast support and for electing Governor Okpebholo, whom he described as committed to good governance. According to the minister, the revitalization of the moribund Edo line by the governor is a clear demonstration of this commitment, noting that the move will help address transportation challenges, boost security, and improve the standard of living in the state. On recent controversies surrounding a proposed visit by Labour Party's former presidential candidate, Peter Obi, Wike clarified that Governor Okpebholo's request for prior notice was purely for security reasons. He dismissed claims that the governor threatened Obi, stressing that the concern was for his safety as a prominent figure and member of a coalition movement. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has called on the contractor handling the construction of the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal complex to expedite work and meet the September 2025 completion deadline. Wike made the appeal on Wednesday during an inspection visit to the project site in Dakibiu, Jabi district. According to a statement by Rabiu Musa Umar, Assistant Director, Press Office of the FCT Minister, the visit was part of Wike's ongoing review of key infrastructure projects across the territory. Clearly displeased with the slow pace of work, the minister emphasized the urgency of completing the project on time, assuring that funding would not hinder progress. When asked by journalists if the deadline was still achievable, Wike expressed concern but remained cautiously optimistic. He also cautioned against vague terms like enough funding, reminding the contractor of their earlier commitment to deliver by the agreed date. The House of Representatives has reaffirmed its commitment to judicial reform and the timely delivery of justice in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT). Lawmakers made this known on Wednesday during a public hearing on two key bills aimed at overhauling the territory's judicial system. Chairman of the House Committee on Judiciary, Adamu Gamawa, said one of the bills seek to amend the constitution to increase the number of judges in the FCT, while the other proposes the establishment of lower courts with jurisdiction over civil and criminal matters. Gamawa emphasized the 10th House's dedication to ensuring equal and affordable access to justice for all, stressing that the reforms would strengthen the judiciary, ease the workload on current judges, and boost public confidence in the legal system. Speaker of the House, Rep. Abbas Tajuddin, represented by Deputy Minority Leader Aliyu Madaki, described the hearing as a crucial step toward comprehensive judicial reform. The Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) has signed a memorandum of understanding with MAG International Links Limited for the development of City Walk Abuja, a project inspired by the world-renowned City Walk Dubai. Speaking at the signing ceremony in Abuja on Wednesday, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike said the project would span over 200 hectares and feature a blend of residential, commercial, retail, hospitality, institutional, and healthcare facilities. Wike emphasized that the MOU is designed to ensure strict adherence to agreed timelines and work plans. He warned against land speculation, stating that several people who previously acquired land for mass housing ended up reselling rather than developing it, a practice the administration will no longer tolerate. The Abuja City Walk project will be sited on land originally allocated for the Abuja Technology Village along Airport Road, which has remained idle for over 2 decades. The minister revealed that the project would be executed in phases, with foundation laying expected between July and August. He added that the first phase is scheduled for completion by May 2026 to mark President Bola Tinubu's 3rd year in office. Describing the project as key to the capital's growth, Wike pledged full support for the investor in line with President Tinubu's directive to boost private investment in the FCT. He also disclosed that the administration would provide access roads to ensure work begins immediately. Government Secondary School Orozo has emerged winner of the 2025 Federal Capital Territory edition of the VIA Program for Safety Mobility and Youth-Led Road Safety Competition aimed at curbing traffic risk among school children. The competition featured 10 public secondary schools across the FCT, offering students a platform to showcase their creativity and ideas on road safety. This was disclosed in a statement by the Communications lead of Green Light Initiative, Patience Agabi, on Thursday. According to the statement, the VIA program is a youth-focused road safety education initiative launched by Total Energies in partnership with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, with support from the Total Energies Foundation and implemented by Green Light Initiative. The program is designed to build young people's leadership and awareness on road safety through collaboration with the Federal Road Safety Corps, state education ministries, and other public sector partners. It also aims to reduce road traffic injuries and fatalities, especially among students. Meanwhile, Government Secondary School Asokoro and Government Secondary School Jiwa emerged second and third, respectively. Participants expressed their ideas through artistic posters, poetry, drama, and presentation addressing key mobility risks and solutions. I am Folashayo Adigun.
That was news from our sister station in the Federal Capital Territory, Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja. You have been listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM Lagos. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that wrestling legend Hulk Hogan has died at the age of 71. Police bust kidnap gang, arrest over 180 internet fraudsters in Delta State. Troops for a Boko Haram attack in Borno, kill commander and terrorist cameraman, and court orders police to pay #EndSARS protesters 10 million naira for rights violation. That is a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOB903 FM for coverage of your live event and brand news mentions in our news bulletins. Do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good evening and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Coming up shortly is the Evening Rush with Esther Mwachuku.